Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about eyeshadow palettes. You know, this is my favorite topic to talk about, and this is going to be a long video. So get some snacks, get ready. We're going to rank all the eyeshadow palettes based on the number of usage, and this is a half yearly series. So I'll do one right now and then I'll do one in December so that you know how many palettes am I using for like how many times. Now, the rule is if I've even used like one shadow from the palette, it is counted as one usage. So just do keep that in mind. And I do have a lot of palettes in my collection, and I'm happy to report from January 1st till about the end of June, I have used 117 palettes from my collection, which is a huge plus point in my opinion. My aim is to use every palette at least once in the whole year, just because I do have so many palettes. Now, we're gonna, based on the usage, the maximum amount of usage that I've done from one palette would be like 6 times usage. So that means I'm either using it multiple times in a month or I'm using it like once every month. But there are a ton of palettes that I've used only once till about June. So let's talk about them and I'll tell you which palette I used how many number of times. So if you're ready, let's begin. I have my laptop in front of me and I do have tracked the number of usage. I don't know if it's going to be useful or not. I just wanted to test it out and see how am I doing for the whole year. So let's see how many palettes I've used only once. Okay, so I see 46 palettes used only once. So let me go through it so that you know which palette I've just used once. And there are several palettes in this one usage that I absolutely love and adore. So it's a shock to me that I've only used once. Okay, so let's begin. Let's begin with a bang. Unearthly Cosmetics. I have 2 palettes sitting right in front of me, and these are the Fall Magic palette. You know how much I love this color story. I personally love to use it either in the spring season or in the autumn season. I am definitely waiting for using this one in the autumn season much more. And the second palette is Don't Be Jelly palette. And this is definitely a springtime color story. I love this color story, but I've only dipped into this once, which is like a big shocker to me. I'm going to run over it because it's a huge, like we have to go to 117 palettes. Now let's talk about Simply Posh Cosmetics palettes. I have used Fairy Tale Fairies. I'm not surprised about this because it's more of a pastel color story. And this is my least used palette in my collection from Simply Posh Cosmetics. I'm not worried about this, but the next one is a banger. Like, why have I only used it once? I don't know, because this is my favorite palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics, and this is the Cozy Cabin palette. You know, I rave about this palette on and off. I definitely need to use this even more. That's definitely a big shocker to me. Then we have the Citrus Sponge palette. I'm not worried about this also. I'm not shocked about this. This is definitely a loud out there fun palette, but I can definitely see myself using this in the summertime, definitely much more. So I would definitely keep using that. And then we have the Aurora Lights palette. This is deep grungy. I love to wear this in the winter time. That's when I get the most usage out of it, but I can definitely see myself using this in the summertime too. Now let's move on to Sigma Beauty. I have 2 palettes in front of me. The Ambience palette. Again, this is a major, oh my gosh, did I dig my fingers? This is majorly a summer palette for me with like bronzy tones. It's a very effortless kind of palette to use in this summertime. I can definitely see myself using it for office looks. I'll keep using this. This is a definite shocker to me. The Cool Neutrals palette. This is one among my top palettes in my collection from Sigma Beauty. I definitely need to use this even more. One usage is a crying Smithy because I love this palette. Okay, now let's talk about Woodin's Eye. I have Jewels and Gems in just one usage here. It's a beautiful fall time color story. I love this palette. Definitely need to use all of this. I don't know. I'm going to repeat myself. From the Nomad Cosmetics, we have the Polar Express palette. Again, a very neutral tone color story with blues popped in, but such a beautiful tone of palette. You want to see Pat McGrath? Bronze Seduction in just one usage. I mean, how much money have we spent on this palette? And one usage again is a big crime. Natasha Denona, let's talk about 2 palettes that I've only used once, and that is I Need a Nude palette. This is more of like a winter palette for me, and I do get a lot of usage in the winter time. So I'm not surprised to see this. And the next Natasha Denona palette is the golden palette. I love the shimmers in this palette. I definitely need to use this even more. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about MBA Cosmetics. MBA Cosmetics, I do have their newest palette that I've used only once, but I'm not surprised. This is the Spellbound Forest Multichrome palette. This is definitely a companion palette for me. And then we have the Pumpkin Kisses and Autumn Wishes palette. Again, a very fall tone palette, so I definitely see myself using this in the fall time more. Now let's talk about Krypton Cosmetics palette. I have the Alta palette. Beautiful, beautiful multi-chrome palette. I love Krypton Cosmetics palette. Definitely. I am shocked to see any of the Krypton Cosmetics palette fall under this category. And this is the Tulip Dream palette. Beautiful, beautiful palette. Okay. And then we have the Atlantis palette, the blue tone palette. This I'm not shocked because I'm not a big blue person. So I can definitely see myself using this only once. But I'm pretty shocked here. From It's Well Cosmetics, we have the Pixie Grove palette. I know I did feature this in the 3 palettes 3 looks video, and that's why there's only one usage here. From Gourmand Girls, I have a lot of palettes from Gourmand Girls sitting here at one usage. Let's talk about Nueva Vida palette. This is in collaboration with Steph's Beauty Stash. Such a beautiful summer tone palette. Then we have the Nightshade palette. Beautiful purple tone color story. Love this one. And then we have the Frozen Kiss palette. This is definitely a shocker to me because I love this color story. I had used this a lot in December, but this year only once so far. Then we have the Gourmandises palette. And then we do have Warriors Wear Pink palette. I think I did feature this in one of the Get Readies with me pretty soon. And now let's talk about Huda Beauty. We have the Naughty Nude palette, only in one usage. This is such a beautiful everyday color story. But why one is my question. And then we have the Mercury Retrograde palette, which is a beautiful springtime color story. I love the quality of Huda Beauty palettes so very much. Then we have Hindash Beautopsy palette. This is more of like a face palette, so I can definitely see myself using this even more. Okay. And now moving into Glaminatrix Cosmetics, we have Into the Night palette. We have the smaller 6-pan palette, the green palette, as well as the blue palette. This I definitely thought that I would use the least because these are not my color story. This big shocker, Barely Basic palette. I don't know why one. Did I even miss? I don't know. But this was on like one usage and I was like, this is a shocker to me. Absolute shocker. I love this with my whole heart. I really. Then we have the Michaela palette from Glamlight. A beautiful, colorful tone palette. I love this one. But I did get like a rash when I used this last time. So I think it's expired. Not sure. Okay, let's move on to WhatsApp Beauty. The Dragon Eye palette. Again, another shocker to me because I've used this so much last year. Definitely need to bring this back into collection. From Florasis, we have 2 palettes. We have the Encounter palette, this one. Very beautiful everyday palette. And then we also have the Soaring Sunlight palette. Beautiful everyday palettes. Okay, from Colourpop, we have that Stove palette. Now mine is a little bit revamped with everyday shades, but why am I not using this even more? I have no clue because these are like my everyday tones that I absolutely love. From Ensley Rain, we have the Nutty by Nature palette. Looks like this. It's a little revamped because I know for fact this is from the Blend Bunny Beauty Below palette, but I've used only Nutty by Nature once. And from Ensley Rain, this one, the Twisted Tea Party palette, that's also, I've just used it once. Okay, this was a little bit loud for me, maybe that's why. From Adept Cosmetics, one usage on the original Minka palette. You'll see the revamped Minka palette coming high up on the list, coming in later in the video. From Cosmic Beauty, all the palettes that I have from Cosmic Beauty I've just used once. So talking about the Neutrals palette, the Cool Trills palette, and 'Tis the Season palette. Okay, definitely need to use that even more. From Bella Beauty Bar, we have the Recently De-Influenced palette. This is one among my top favorite palettes from them. I don't know why is it at one usage. We also have the Bejeweled palette from them. This is definitely a deep dark color story. I can see myself using this even more in companion with the other palettes. From Blend Bunny Cosmetics, we have the Sugar and the Grunge palette. I love this palette. Love this palette. But why one usage? No idea. No idea, you guys. And the Primal palette. Okay, so those were the palettes that I had only for one usage. Okay, let's begin with the palettes that I have two usages with. The more usage that we go, the lesser number of palettes it's gonna be. So let's begin with the two usages. Let's start off with the one that I just broke by putting it on the floor, and that's from Natasha Denona. Can you believe this? This is the Coral palette. So it's actually just damaged. I pressed this back. Rest everything was intact, but the palette definitely broke. So that I had two usages. This, I feel like it's such a beautiful palette. I love it as like an eyeshadow as well as face palette. I love that the shade that broke, that's a beautiful highlighter on me, and this is such a beautiful blush on me. I love this palette very, very much. So I definitely can see myself using it even more. Bummed that this fell actually, especially a Natasha Denona palette. I think you can understand the grief that I'm going with. Okay, let's talk about other Natasha Denona palette since we are here. We also have a Retro palette, which is more like I would say more of a autumn palette for me. Again, I love this. It's definitely an older palette, but I would love to use this even more. And then we have the Roxa palette, which is the purple palette from them. There you go. Beautiful formula. I am a big fan of Natasha Denona mattes more than the shimmers. I absolutely love them with my whole heart. Now let's talk about the only Simply Posh cosmetics that we have for the two usages, and that's the Coastal palette. Absolutely beautiful summer palette, and that's, I think all the two usages came out this summer for me. So that's on number 2. And now let's talk about Krypton Cosmetics. I have two palettes. Violet Crazy, that's a beautiful purple palette again with pops of neutrals. Beautiful, stunning palette in my opinion. And then we have the Burnt Forest palette from them. That is their neutral palette with pops of greens and blues. Really beautiful palette, okay? So those are the Krypton Cosmetics palette. The only Gourmand Girls palette that I have for two usages is the Peach Perfect palette. Again, these are like peachy and green tones blended together. Really, really beautiful palette on the eyes. The quality is absolutely stunning here. The two Huda Beauty palette that I have in the two usage is the Pretty Grunge palette. Again, this is more of a winter palette, so I definitely can see myself using this more in winter season. And then we have the Icy Nude palette, same story. I see myself using this more in the winter season. They have some beautiful tones going here. Now let's talk about Glaminatrix Cosmetics. I have two palettes from them for two usages. The Rich Romantic palette. Again, this is more of like a springtime color story for me. Really, really love this color story. I love this with my whole heart. I absolutely am a big fan of this palette. And then their smaller palette, the Entrancing Eyes, which is the Berry palette. Did something fall? It definitely has some kind of damage here. It shattered on my table. Wait. It's not broken, but these shimmers are definitely fragile. But they're very, very beautiful on the eyes. I've definitely used this very, very much along with the nude palette. That's definitely the most used palette. You'll see that later on the video. But those are the two Glaminatrix Cosmetics palette. Did I say in the two usage category I have 32 palettes to talk? So we are halfway there, I think. Next we have the Cheery Beauty Fleeting Life palette at two usage. Such a beautiful grungy palette. Absolutely love this one. Then from Adept Cosmetics, We have the Element 115 palette at 2 usages. Really beautiful palette. Beautiful purple blue color story. Love it. And then from Nomad Cosmetics, we have, this is my favorite palette from them. Again, at 2 usage. Just a shocker. This is the Chicago Speakeasy palette. Beautiful tones. Absolutely stunning tones. Definitely need to use this even more. Sticking with the Nomad palettes, we have the Fêtes de Provence palette at 2 usages. We also have America's Sparks palette at 2 usages. From MBA Cosmetics, I have the Iridescent Bubbles palette at 2 usage. And from Poppy and Fluff Cosmetics, we have Indigo Dreams palette also at 2 usages. I have a bunch of Ensley Rain palettes here at 2 usages. Actually, majority of their palettes are here in this category. So let me quickly run over it. We have the Flourish palette. Such a beautiful summertime color story. Cannot wait to use this even more this summer. Then for the smaller palettes, we have the Hoppy Go Lucky palette at 2 usage. We also have Hedgehog palette. This is a very recent palette in my collection, also at 2 usage. Then from their bigger 21 pan color story, we have Strawberry Moon at 2 usage. I am actually using this palette on my eyes today, if you can see. We also have Flower Moon palette at 2 usage. Harvest Moon. Beautiful fall time color story. Light in Your Eyes. And finally, we have the Lands of Enchantment palette also at 2 usage. So those are the Ensley Rain palettes. Now let's talk about Unearthly Cosmetics palette. We have 2 palettes from Unearthly Cosmetics. Sorcerer's Smoke at 2 usage. Beautiful everyday palette. Absolutely love it. We have Gargoyle palette at 2 usage. Again, another palette that I absolutely love and adore. Then from Wicked Widow Beauty, we have the Tales of Terror palette at 2 usage. And we have the Crow palette also at 2 usage. And finally, we have Bella Beauty Bar, Dead Roses. Beautiful purple pink color story. Really love this quality. So those were my 32 palettes for 2 usages. Now let's move on to 3 usages. Okay, let's move on to 3 usage palette, and we do have 11 palettes to talk about. I think I have 4 usage palettes more than 3 usage palette. I'm pretty sure. So let's begin with the 3 usage palette. We have Patrick Ter's Rose Dimension 2 palette. You know how much I love this palette. I occasionally bring out this palette every time, especially when I'm going to office or if it's like a special occasion. This is a palette that I definitely like go towards. Then let's talk about Nomad Cosmetics. We have the Berlin Underground palette with 3 usages. Beautiful everyday grungy looks can be achieved by this. I think I misplaced Bloom palette earlier in 2 usages. I definitely have used this 3 times. I don't know why it was showing 2 times out here. So this is a 3 usage palette, the Bloom palette. Beautiful everyday peachy pinky color story. Then we have the newest Krypton Cosmetics Sunset Symphony palette. I recently did a 3 palette looks with this palette. That's why it's on 3 looks with that palette. We do have the Singe Beauty Galactic Visitor palette at 3 usages. Beautiful color story. Love this for summer season. Then we have Gourmand Girls Bitten palette. Again, a vampy, purpley toned, berry toned color story. Beautiful on the eyes. Love this one. Then we have the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette at 3 usages. Should use this even more, right? And then we have Cradled in Ice palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. Again, beautiful, neutrally pinky purple tones with pops of blues. Love this palette with my whole heart. Then we have the Ensley Rain Cosmetics Cosmic Dreamer palette. There you go. And then last, certainly not least, we have the Wicked Widow Beauty Scissor Hands 2 palette at 3 usages. So those were my 11 palettes that I used for 3 usages. Now let's move on to 4 usages. Now moving on to 4 usages, we have 10 palettes to talk about for 4 usages. So let's begin with Krypton Cosmetics. We have the Secret Garden 1 and Secret Garden 2 palette. This is such a beautiful springtime color story. This is also a very, very new palette to me. In my collection, it came out this year. Very, very excited about the entire Krypton Cosmetics line, I would say. This is beautiful for pinky purple color story with pops of lavenders and greens too. And then we have Beauty Moon Cosmetics Mantra palette. There you go, at 4 usages. Okay. Then we move on to Ensley Rain Cosmetics. We have 4 palettes from Ensley Rain Cosmetics. Let's start off with Underland palette. Beautiful color story. Love that. I definitely would use this more in the fall season. Then we have the Flutter palette. Another beautiful color story. This is a little bit mismatched with again the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Beauty Below palette. That's why there are some repeated tones, but you know exactly how Flutter looks like. And then we have the Wolf Moon palette from them. And then finally, we have the Cold Moon palette from them. So all of these at 4 usages. Let's move on to Natasha Denona. We have the My Dream palette at 4 usage. This is definitely such a beautiful, wearable, versatile palette from them. I really, really love this one. And then we have from Sugar Drizzle, the Bunny Love palette at 4 usages. This is more like an eye and a face palette both. And then finally, Bella Beauty Bar's Poison Garden palette. Again, a very new to me palette in my collection. Again, at 4 usages. So these were the 10 palettes that I used at 4 usages in my collection. Now let's move on to 5 usages. Okay, let's move on to 5 usages, and we have 14 palettes to talk about. So let's begin. Let's start off with Glaminatrix Cosmetics. We have the Neutral palette from the 6-pan color story. There you go. Such a beautiful travel friendly palette, I would say. This, again, be very careful if you are like putting it into a luggage, because these shimmers are a little fragile. But otherwise, this palette it comes in super, super handy if you're going for like 1 or 2, like a weekend trip. Then we also have the Nearly Naturals palette from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. Such a beautiful neutral palette again. Very, very happy with this palette. So these definitely had to make it to the 5 usage palettes. Now from Simply Posh Cosmetics, we have the Snow Angel palette. Muted, colorful palette. I absolutely love this palette. I've loved every single look that I've created using this palette. Beautiful. Then from Unearthly Cosmetics, we have Just a Taste palette. There you go. You know how much I love this. I love the combination of warm tones and cool tones all blended together, and the quality of these shadows are A++. Would highly recommend. From Nomad Cosmetics, I have 3 palettes to talk about. Chamonix Après-Ski palette. Such a beautiful wintry palette. I love this one too. On my eyes, it looks very, very special. Even like in the pan, it looks beautiful, but on the eyes, it looks lovely. Then we have the Route 66 palette from Nomad Cosmetics. Again, a very underrated palette, I would say. On the eyes, on a medium tan skin tone, I feel like if you're more of a neutral wearer with pops of colors, this palette is beautiful. And then finally, we have the Fairy Tale Fairies palette. Beautiful shimmer heavy palette, I would say, with pops of neutrals, mattes. Really beautiful, and the packaging is definitely my favorite from them. Now let's move on to Kaima Cosmetics. The only palette that I have from Kaima Cosmetics is the Frosted Fairy palette. There you go. Pastel Garden. I absolutely love this palette. Very special. And then from Natasha Denona, we have the I Need a Warm palette. Comes in super handy, especially for summer season. That's how it looks. And then from Ensley Rain Cosmetics, we have 3 palettes to talk about. We have the Snow Moon palette from them. Extremely beautiful. Absolutely love this one. This brown, this purple and this I think this purple and this burgundy is not from this palette. Again, mixed with the Blend Bunny Beauty Below palette. And then we have the Glow palette. Beautiful pastel summer springtime palette. Really beautiful. Love the shimmers that they're coming out nowadays. Rather than textured shimmers, now it's more smoother shimmers, which I absolutely love. And then finally, we have the Whispering Woods palette from them, also at 5 usage. I feel like I would use this even more in the fall season. Really beautiful. Very, very beautiful tones. And then finally, let's talk about Adept Cosmetics. We have the revamped Minka palette at 5 usage. Beautiful purple tone color story with pops of greens. Stunning, stunning, stunning palette. And also, we have Flying Fiddles from Adept Cosmetics. Again, a neutral wearer's dream. I use this a lot. I absolutely love this one. Cannot recommend this enough for you guys. So those were the 14 palettes with 5 usages. Now let's move on to 6 usages. And these are going to be the final stretch for my palette usages, because now we are only talking 4 more palettes in my collection that I use the most. And I cannot recommend these enough. Like, I absolutely love this with my whole heart. If I've used a palette 6 times, that says how much I'm reaching out for it again and again. 6 might not seem a lot, but with all these palettes in the collection, if I'm reaching back into that, that should say a lot. So let's begin with 6 usage. Let's start off with Glaminatrix Cosmetics. It's the newest Timeless Tones palette. Again, I've been very, very interested in like cool tone color story, but with like neutral tones. These shimmers are absolutely beautiful. Like, cannot recommend this enough. If this is your color story, you would absolutely love it. And then we have Groovy Garden from Ensley Rain. I love this palette for the mattes. Like, I love these mattes with my whole heart. I often dip into the mattes for this palette, and that's why this is ranking on number 1 because of the mattes. Like, these mattes are absolutely beautiful. And finally, we have 2 palettes from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. We have the Beauty Below palette. You knew that this is coming. Mine is revamped. You saw that I have several palettes in this row, because I feel like if I would have kept this as it is, I would have used it much less. I now love it even more because I have lighter tone mattes also included in this, along with some iridescent shimmers, which I love. These 2 rows are exactly from Beauty Below. Even some of the shimmers and some of the mattes are from Beauty Below, but there are some pops that are from other palettes, and that makes me use it even more. So again, on the top position, at least for usages, we have the Beauty Below palette. And then finally, we have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Longing palette. You knew that this is coming. Such a beautiful palette. This has its own mood. I have never come across a look with this palette that I do not love. I absolutely adore this palette with my whole heart, and definitely not surprised to see this on the top of the list. But that's all the palettes. How many palettes did we talk about? So many palettes. And I'm really sorry that this is a huge and a long video, but I wanted to talk about the palette usages. We'll definitely do that towards the end of the year too. And it'll be interesting to see what all palettes enter my collection and what all usage I do have in my collection. We also have so many palettes sitting at 0. So we'll definitely see what are the older palettes that I'm still reaching out for. I definitely feel my 3 palettes, 3 looks is definitely helping me use those older palettes back into my life, which I absolutely love and adore. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a whole series of 3 palettes, 3 looks, where I mix and match newer palettes and older palettes all into one, just so that I can give you more like eye look inspiration, but also use what I have in my collection. I really hope that this video was useful for you guys. If you did like my video, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.